Hello and welcome to the Split Arrow Farm. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of our farmhouse kitchen makeover, and wow, our house is in disarray. Not only did we tear down our entire kitchen, but to add to the matter, we got a puppy. Yeah, so we've been dealing with a lot right now, but let's take a little rewind and look back at where the kitchen began. As you can see, the original kitchen was all wood and it was still in really good quality, and we didn't want to spend too much money. So we just started off with what we had and we wanted to match it to our living room, which mostly was just all painted white, really crisp coloring. So last week on our video, we tore out the entire kitchen. We ripped down all the cabinets and we started to number them out, but I had a few different drawers to still remove. So I started to remove those, and then we got to work on making sure that the kitchen cabinets were primed and ready to go for painting. So I used some TSP with hot water. You want to make sure that you're using warm water with this. You're also going to want to put on some gloves to keep your hands safe, and just make sure to get rid of all of the grime and oils that are on your cabinets. This way they are clean and ready to be primed for the paint. I grabbed a hand sander, starting off with 150 grit and then going down to 220 grit, using a little bit of elbow grease to really get in on the cabinets. But man, was this hard. So I gave up and we taped down the entire kitchen and just started to use the orbital sander instead. This way it was just so much easier and faster to get everything done in more of a time limit. There's still so much more. I'd be lying if I didn't say it took a really long time still, and this is only a piece of it.
Oh yeah, baby.
Getting ready for the holidays?
Yeah, and it's a little cold out here. Can't find a regular hat. This is the only one I can find.
While I worked to clean up the kitchen, Chris was working on making sure to get all of the pieces back and lined up together so that everything fit well when we did get our new range. And Mags was loving all of the work. Now, Chris has sanded down all of the cabinet bases with some 220 grit on our orbital sander. So now that they are nice and smooth, I'm going to take some multi-purpose cleaner, just clean those off, and then I'll roller on the primer. We'll let that dry, and then we'll flip it over to the other side, do that, and just keep painting for a while. So let's go. For the painting, you're going to want to use some foam rollers. I just have this 4-inch foam roller. So I got the roller, and then I got a few little backup ones so you can switch out different colors and also just like not worry about having to clean it all the time. So we're just going to roll these on. I'd say as much as you can roll, go for a roll. And then anything else that you need to paint, any of the edges, this is a nice smooth top, so I don't have to worry too much about that. But when I flip it over, some of the creases there, you're going to want to use just like a paintbrush first, and then go over it with the roller. You're going to want to work in a W fashion and try to just get everything painted and have enough time to dry in between before flipping over. The next day I went in and painted the kitchen, so I got everything primed, making sure again I started with a paintbrush on any of those inseams, and then you'll go over with a roller. Once the primer had dried on the wall, Chris started to remove the sink and extra countertops and backsplash in the secondary part of the kitchen so that we could really make sure to have everything ready to go for our new butcher block countertops and sink that we had ordered. Originally, we didn't take this out so we could extend the use of the kitchen, but when it came down to the end, we really did have to get it moving. So Chris went ahead, cleaned up the plumbing and the area, and really got it ready for us to start doing additional work in that area. We then had a clean slate where everything was primed, everything was removed, and the kitchen was completely taped off so that we could really start to break ground on getting some more colors and finishing pieces in. Meanwhile, look at that little sleeper. Now it was time to actually start painting the walls, and this was so exciting because it really was one of the bigger transformations, getting the final colors of paint on and just a solid color of paint on. So I just did a white color to keep it clean, and then ready for the cabinet painting. This was a bit scary, so I needed some wine encouragement, but we decided to go with blue, and wow, it was a huge statement color, and I probably did around 2 to 3 coats, but once it was done, it really looked great.
Let's get some water. Great.
Out of the shower.
Ready for our sink to be done, our kitchen to be finished.
We have coffee maker over here, Bunsen burner, toaster, microwave, whole kitchen. Now for the butcher block countertops. We decided to use butcher block because it is a cheap, inexpensive, and DIY friendly way to create really beautiful countertops. What you're gonna wanna do first is place the wood on, measure everything out, and then tape wherever you're gonna make any of your cuts. We started off just measuring it and then putting a straight line and going with a handsaw to make all of our cuts, which turned out to be really great and worked really well, but we also did it inside. Now there's sawdust everywhere. Look at my pants.
Clean up crew. Clean up crew! It's so hard to get in here.
For this kitchen project, we had 3 different sections of butcher block countertop. 2 of the sections were cut down and we were able to just attach those into place, but the third one was going to be holding the sink. So we needed to make sure that once we cut down the piece, that we would cut out the hole for where the sink would go. So we made sure to measure and measure and measure again of where we wanted the sink to go so that we had all of the right measurements in, and then we fitted out the sink, made sure it fits, and prepared it to be cut.
Lined up to where it was.
My heart's beating really fast, my stomach hurts, I'm nervous. Oh, and did I mention that we measured it and measured it again?
Let's do it.
After measuring about 1 billion times and we felt confident with all the lines that we drew, we carried the piece of butcher block outside and followed the same process of taping over where all the cut lines would be. Again, we used painter's tape that had a pretty transparent color so that you could see all the lines that were originally drawn into the wood. Carried out our supplies and we're ready for the moment of truth. We decided to use a handsaw and just lowered in to all of the edges, cutting out all 4 sides. Chris went in and just got as much as he could, and then we decided that we'd follow up on all of the edges with a jigsaw to get that perfect straight edge. I did decide to get an undermount sink that had a rectangular shape with harsh corners so that it was easier to cut into. Depending on your capabilities, you can decide to do more of a ovaled out softer corner. But we cut that final edge and the piece dropped in. To finish this out, we took an orbital sander and smoothed out the top layer as well as all the cut edges that we just did and fit it snug into place, and she looked wonderful.
Basically a plumber these days. Let's go, Miss Danielle. Try out your new sink.
Okay, let's see. With the plumbing a success, we moved on to the next step of applying a thin bead-like layer of sealant to the top of the undermount sink. This will make sure that the sink adhesives to the butcher block countertop as well as seals in the water from escaping. You want to make sure that when you put this in that you do allow 24 hours for it to dry, and you'll also want to apply some extra fasteners. The sink should come with that in their set. So we applied those after making sure that everything was straight and lined up. And we also did some extra nails just to make sure that everything was good to go. And finished it up with a rewarding glass of margarita as we waited for our sink to dry. here is the big reveal. After waiting for everything to dry, we were allowed to put products on top of the butcher block, and everything turned out so beautiful. But we are going to be showing a part 3 of the farmhouse makeovers, where we are going to be doing a backsplash as well as shelving, so stay tuned and subscribe to watch the journey. This is Saturday, day 285 of the kitchen project. Oh.
Ah, get out of here.
Next area. Oh, a lot of things in here.
Cleanup crew. Soul party, just Danielle, always.
Always.